All right, it's time for us to now talk about Group A. Plenty of big guns, a lot of top teams, top names to talk about here. And folks, of course, before we get going with this preview, please ensure that you have already watched Group B as well. If you haven't, please go check that out either before this or after this. Ensure that you've also hit the like button here. Ensure that you've hit the like button there. So please show us some love. And yeah, we will get going. Of course, Jeet, done with 6 teams, 6 more to go. Excited for this preview considering the kind of names that are up for grabs here?
Yeah, I mean, much more exciting group. I remember you calling Group B as a group of death. For me, Group A is a group of death, given the number of stronger teams that feature in this particular group. But yeah, interesting. I mean, some of them are playing, some of them are not playing. In fact, interestingly, Australia and South Africa are having a warm-up of their own right now. So quite interesting at the moment. But yeah, this is the group that I'm actually really looking forward to.
It's interesting, the dynamic in both groups. I agree with you in terms of where you're coming from. Group A, of course, Australia, India, South Africa, all three are strong contenders for not just the semi-finalist spots, but also the trophy. But with Group B, the advantages, each of the 4-5 different teams, barring say one, have some sort of a chance. They actually have something to stake a claim for in the semi-final spot. Here, you can fairly say that, you know what, there are 3 teams that are clearly ahead of the other 3 teams, you know which 3 we are talking about, but we will get into that and much more. Starting off with Fit Bictically, and of course, even otherwise, Australia, the team that we will always have to talk about when it comes to number 1 in women's cricket. Jeet, take it away. The Australian side, why on earth are they going to win yet another title?
Well, this time I'm going to agree with you. I mean, they feel strong again this time around. So if I recollect correctly, then during the preview of the last edition, I think we had mentioned that probably Australia won't even make it through to the finals, I believe. I think that is what our prediction was, and we turned out to be correct as well. It had to do a lot with the conditions as well, and the look of Australian setup or the lineup, some of the players, being out of form or looking a little bit sketchy for the conditions that were on offer. Man, in England, I don't think anybody can stop them. I'll be very honest here, but you will probably see the brutal best of Australia again, come at this particular tournament. And I was just going through some numbers as well of all the participating teams and their record in England. So other than England, of course, the only visiting team to have won more games than lost games is Australia. The only team, just imagine, with a win percentage of 56. So it goes on to show that how much other teams have struggled to combat these conditions or fight against England. I know England is not as strong as they used to be at one stage, but I feel Australia has always been a force and will continue to be in this tournament as well.
And again, when you look at the squad, even, when it came to the ODI World Cup as well, there were at least a few injury hiccups, which meant that some of their first 11 options weren't available. That doesn't even seem to be the case this time. Sophie Molineux had a slight niggle, but she's already come over it. She will be captaining the side, first time ever for her. But that squad looks as packed as possible.
It's too good, man. Too good. In fact, Lucy Hamilton was a pick that I was expecting as well, especially when they clearly mentioned that Darcy Brown's, or at least there were rumors, right, from the media that Darcy Brown is potentially going to miss out. So it made just sense as to who's going to come in, and it had to be Lucy Hamilton to add the left arm angle. But what has been really surprising for me is the national selector, Sean Flegler, saying that, the rationale behind that pick is that they expect the pitches to be on the slower side. Now, that's exactly contradictory to what you mentioned in the last preview about the curators saying that, it's going to be the fast surfaces, high-scoring venues and everything. So I'm not too sure how they are looking at this or why they would say this. So, yeah, that bit is quite interesting, but you could understand as to why they have gone for Lucy Hamilton. Otherwise, yeah, it's a good squad. Jess Johnson is a ship that has sailed. At times, I can understand as to why that has happened. I know she has performed brilliantly well in the county circuit right now for Yorkshire. She's still doing really well with the bat, with the ball. But at times, I can still see the rationale behind that, because there are moments where you'd probably not bank upon Jess Johnson, which was never the case in the past. Here, she ends up giving too many runs at the death, or, just a 4-over spell are not as good as they used to be at one stage. But it's still a pretty good-looking squad that they've got this time around.
I mean, that's a very good point you mentioned about the conditions as well, because even when they spoke about the 4 spinners that they picked, they also spoke about how, should the conditions be in favor, they wouldn't hesitate fielding all 4 of them. The 4 being, of course, Ash Gardner, Georgia Wadham, the captain, Sophie Molineux herself, and Alana King. And come to think of it, the Australian side has packed themselves with spinners. So has the English side. And later we'll talk about India. They've also gone ahead with an additional spin option as reinforcement. It is interesting that the teams are clearly looking at this differently, but all right, only time will tell who got it right or who got it wrong. Speaking about the schedule as well, Jeet, when you have a look at it, They play South Africa in Manchester. Once again, a game that, I mean, a venue that would favor Australia just because of the side, the spinners, the lack of spinners in South Africa. I mean, in the South African side, you would imagine that even that tiny 1% here that we talk about is also in their favor when it comes to the schedule. They play South Africa, then Netherlands, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, and then eventually play India at the Lords.
Yeah, I mean, that is why it actually surprises me as to how have Australia and South Africa decided to play these warm-up games just before the T20 World Cup when they'll be facing each other in the very first game. Like, you don't want to give out your secrets, so you don't want, the opposition to get a hang of it or come up with better plans, from the learnings in the warm-up game. So it was quite surprising. So just like you mentioned about the schedule, I mean, two of the games are at Leeds. Now, Leeds happens to be a venue which is the worst for the spinners out of all venues in the UK, at least for this particular tournament. So again, from that point of view, it didn't really make sense. But I think they are still well-rounded. The pace attack is fairly decent. I know at times I feel, most of them are quite wavered, barring Megan Shoot in terms of their discipline on line. But I think, yeah, the kind of batting depth that they've got, the kind of spin attack they've got, I think it's more than enough to make up for it.
I mean, one last thing about the squad itself. Nicola Carey, do you think that was a pick justified? I mean, that was a justified pick, or do you think they could have potentially considered someone else, even a Darcy Brown if you want to?
No, I think it's probably fair because she had a great run in the 100 as well over here for the Northern Superchargers, formerly Northern Superchargers, that is. Plus, of course, Leeds. So that's another thing, right? I mean, they had Georgia Wareham, Phoebe Litchfield, Annabelle Sutherland, and Nicola Carey, all four having represented the Yorkshire-based side. So with two games being at Leeds, they have that sort of an advantage as well. It made sense. I think the direct contender for Nicola Carey, I personally believe, was Heather Graham. A bowler who offers a little bit of a different variety to Nicola Carey, somebody who relies more on cutters. But I think Carey has been in a much better form for a long time, at least in the last 12 months. And the fact that she can bat as a left-hander, and she has been phenomenal with that as well. So she can be a good backup option to, I don't know, anybody. If they want to rest Elise Perry, or if somebody's carrying a niggle, maybe an Annabelle Sutherland or even Talia McGrath, I think Nicola Carey can be a really good option to have.
Each of these players would definitely be a part of any other setup. So every player over there definitely, I mean, I would be happy to see them play for any side. But the more I think about this side, is there any weakness that we can talk about or delve deep into? Like, for these opponents, when they're targeting Australia, what do they do?
That's why I'm saying it's so tough. It's going to be very tough to stop them this time around. They'll be a train, dude. I'm telling you. The only thing that I just mentioned is their pace attack. That's probably the only thing that they can look to target. At times they are wavered. They can go for runs. So if you take them on, things can be very different. Maybe the spin attack can be targeted as well at Leeds. But at Leeds, I think they are playing Bangladesh and Pakistan. So I'm not too sure how much they are going to target these spinners. So, yeah, it's tough to find a weak link in this particular side. They've been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, a side that's packed with all-rounders. And even when you talk about their pace attack, with Talia McGrath, Nicola Carey, Elise Perry, all of them are all-rounders. So it's not like they're only going to be in the side as pacers. In fact, according to me, Kim Garth is probably the only one. I still think of Lucy Hamilton as an all-rounder as well. We saw Delhi Capitals use her at number 8. So fair to say that she can be considered off as an all-rounder. So Kim Garth, who again, in all, for any other side would have played as an all-rounder. If you want to look at it as only bowlers or only pacer, I think Kim Garth is the only frontline pacer they'll field in the 11. Fair to say that, Jeet? Megan Shoot, or do you see her coming in?
Megan Shoot will start, I believe. She has to start. I don't see Lucy Hamilton starting, in fact. So Kim Garth will start and Megan Shoot will be the other frontline pacer that they'll be having. Kim Garth, I mean, we have seen what she has done for Ireland, right? I think she used to bat number 3. So we know her batting credentials as well. So over here, I think Megan Shoot will start. She has mentioned that she'll be retiring as well post this tournament. And it's a handy bowler to have a different sort of variety to all the other pacers that they've got. Maybe other than Nicola Carey, who's fairly similar. And I think in the previous preview, I mentioned about Jess Kerr struggling to, come up with ideas, come up with plans and struggling to innovate. Megan Shoot has been a step above. She has identified that being just a pure in-swing bowler is not probably going to cut out in today's time. So she has started resorting to leg cutters right from her first over, which is something I saw during the Women's Big Bash League. And then she did that against New Zealand as well in the bilaterals that they had. So she has been really good. She has been very smart with how she goes about it. And you can't discount the kind of experience that she has got. In fact, out of all the pacers, I think Kim Garth has a concerning record in the UK. But it's fine. I mean, she's still someone that you'd want to have for a different sort of variety.
Yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise, 10 minutes in, and after properly dissecting the Australian side, we've come up to the conclusion that, you know what, this side is really good. This side is very strong. I don't think it takes, it takes rocket science to understand that, but agree with you completely. This is a side that definitely screams royalty, that screams, championship winning material. But talking about the playing 11 itself, Jeet, they've got 50 names, each of whom would happily be a part of the first 11. But who are the 11 that you are going for?
I think it's fairly predictable, barring a couple of spots. In fact, one spot specifically, I'll come to that later. So they'll be opening with Georgia Wall and Beth Mooney. Number 3, I expect Phoebe Litchfield, followed by Elise Perry at number 4. Number 5 is Ash Gardner. Number 6 is Annabelle Sutherland. I think Georgia Barham will play for sure. Followed by, now whether they go with Talia Megra or Alana King, that's the only spot that I'm not so sure about. Followed by Sophie Molyneux, Kim Garth, and number 11 will be Megan Shute. So coming back to Talia Megra, I think there is a reason why Australia went ahead to name 2 vice captains. I feel they are well aware about Sophie Molyneux's issues with injury and everything. So it makes sense, right? If she's injured and if she gets ruled out, then you already have 2 people to take over. One of them acting as a standing captain, the other will continue as a vice captain. So in a scenario like this, it's Talia Megra who's been struggling for a long time. So do you really need her on the side which already features so many pacers? So that's the only spot I'm slightly, confused about, because if they want to play Alana King, then that's a good option to have along with Georgia Barham, especially in the very first game at Manchester. So other than that, I'm fairly certain about the other 10 players. It's this Alana King versus Talia Megra that I'm not so certain about.
I agree with you. That was also going to be my point, because the first game is at least in Manchester. Fair to say, considering the surface on hand, you would potentially pick Alana King over Talia Megra at number 8. I'm not going to say Alana King offers a lot of batting or something, but for number 8, she's more than decent. And also, just looking at the 7 batters preceding her, you don't need to worry about who's batting at number 8 when you've got the likes of Beth Mooney, Elise Perry, Georgia Wall up top. So it's all right. All right, now swiftly moving on. Last bit. Where do you think the Australian side is going to end up finishing the tournament at, Jeet? Number 1, trophy. Should we just wrap up the preview here and move on?
We can move on if we want to, because this time I do expect them to go all the way and win the trophy. I can't. I mean, I can't compare them to any other side and see how they are going to lose. I know there is just one side, in my opinion, that comes really close to defeating them, or who can defeat them.
I mean, they will be licking their wounds because the last 2 trophies have slipped past their hands, the 2024 T20 World Cup, the 2025 ODI World Cup as well. So they will definitely want to make amends over here. I would be very surprised if they do not even finish number 1, let alone just a semi-finalist spot. And I would be very surprised if they don't make it through to the finals and eventually clinch the trophy, because that's how strong the side is looking. And compared to how the rest of the other sides shape up, it's hard to see how the side will be beaten. Anyways, that's that from Australia. It's time for us to now talk about the next team in order, which is none other than the Bangla Tigers, or the Tigresses, however you want to call them. Jeet, again, in some sense, a diametrically opposite side to what Australia is, Bangladesh.
Yeah, and a team that's been so puzzling to follow, because we saw how they performed back in the 2024 edition in conditions that are favorable. So back home, they have very simple strategy. They have pitches that take a lot of turns. So the way they bat kind of helps them get away with it. Over here, that won't be the case. And we are probably seeing that in the tri-series itself, which is going on, where you need high scores, you need boundaries, you need your batters to step up and your pacers to step up. And that's where they have been struggling. So I'm not too sure, but in terms of experience as well, I was actually very surprised to learn that Bangladesh is the only team out of all the participants this time around to have never played a T20I in the UK. Sorry, in England specifically. So that experience bit is also a bit of a concern, but it's good that they are playing right. They are playing tri-series right now in Ireland, and I think that should help them. But otherwise, the batters will have to really pull the socks up for this one.
Yeah, I mean, something we spoke about in the last preview is when New Zealand, Sri Lanka, teams that aren't known for their intent-heavy batting, they will sort of, have to look at themselves deeply and ensure that they are able to up the ante a bit. And Bangladesh in particular, you could see that in the tri-series as well. In all fairness, I would call the Netherlands win over Bangladesh a bit of an upset, because sure, Netherlands have also qualified, but Bangladesh were clearly the more skilled team. And for them to not able to overcome this Dutch bowling attack was also a sign of how their batting has to really go up, because I don't think their bowling has so many issues as such. I really love their bowling. And when it comes to their batting, once again, now let's just talk about the squad, Jeet. A lot of familiar names that way, not a lot of new entrants, so to say.
There are, I mean, there were new entrants in the last edition as well. I remember us deeply talking about Shati Rani, who was somebody who was picked up from the domestic competition where she had come with a reputation of being a big hitter, hitting sixes, and we could see that in numbers as well. It clearly reflected that. So you could understand the rationale of that particular selection. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work out. We could even see her back with that intent, but the returns weren't quite there. Sadly, they just, I don't know what happened, but after that, she is never featured for Bangladesh. So she straight away went to the emerging tournament for Bangladesh. So after that, we haven't seen her feature. There was Taj Nihar who was involved back then. She's back again for this particular edition as well. There is Juwaria Firdaus that they have gone for this time around as well. Dilara Akhtar was there previously. She's there again. And it was only today that she has scored her first 50 after like 36 or 37 T20Is. So she's been there. She provides them with consistent starts, quick starts, but the conversion never comes. She never converts it into a 40 plus or half centuries or whatever. So that top order has been an issue. And then it always comes down to Nigar Sultan at number 4, number 5 to play that anchor role, take it deep and then attack. So that sort of strategy has not been working out for them. Sadly, it's been continuing over here as well. But I think the last game that they've had against the Dutch, the rain curtailed game, is something that they can draw a lot of inspiration out of.
I mean, Taj Nihar was probably a bit of a surprise for me, not only because she hadn't played for the better part of the last couple of years. After the last T20 World Cup, she only featured in the Ireland series. And then for the last 18 months, she was nowhere to be seen. And when she was picked, at least the press note that came with the announcement stated that BCB felt Taj Nihar adds some much needed momentum into the sort of squad. And I was like, okay, that's not how I would have looked at Taj Nihar myself, but fair enough, that's your call. But about the batting itself now, Jeet, I agree with you. Sharmin Akhtar Shubta, not too bad, but once again, not aggressive enough, not anywhere nearly aggressive enough for the T20 side in 2026. But the engine room, that's actually looking good, right? There's Sobna Mostri, there's also the youth of Shorna Akhtar, lower down Rabia Khan, 3 players that I'm actually looking forward to and hoping that they are able to, or they are given a lot more responsibility to ensure that Bangladesh are able to score in excess of 140, if not 150, 160, 170.
Yeah, so there is one good name that you took. I think Shobna Mustari is somebody who has slipped under the radar. Even since the last edition, she has been a top run getter for Bangladesh and not Nigar Sultana. So she's that one player who's been performing really well, but doesn't get enough credit for. Now that's where I feel that, given how much the top order has been struggling, they've got the worst numbers out of all the participating teams in terms of their average. So they are 1 down and 2 down quickly. And then comes a typical rebuilding phase with Nigar Sultana. So what they've done is, because they are struggling with the number 3 spot, they tried Taj Nihar over there, she failed. They tried Sharman Akhtar over there and she failed again. So my point is they can perhaps shift Sobna Mustari at number 3 and have that experienced batter batting the top order so that you don't go bang bang up top. You have an experienced batter taking care of it. You lose 1 wicket, you'll still kind of carry that momentum out of the power play. Right now, it's just too easy for the top order to get dismantled, and it's always the rebuilding phase that starts, after the power play. So that's not quite working out. So if they can make that change, then I'll be really happy. At the same time, I feel really bad for somebody like Shorna Akhtar, such a young player, 19, 20 years of age, and the onus is upon her to hit the big sixes. That's not fair on somebody who's walking in at number 6 or 7. It's just too unfair because nobody else is kind of getting that job done. She walks in and she has to attack right from ball 1. And she does that splendidly well. I'll give a lot of credit to her. She's a phenomenal striker of the ball. But if they can make a few tweaks here and there, then I think they can do better. But I feel Shobna Mustari has to bat number 3 and Shorna perhaps can shift up to number 5 and then Ritu Moni and so on.
I also like the look of it because in some sense it separates the attacking batters. Right now it's all concentrated below Nigar Sultana, number 5, 6 to some extent. I will include Rabia Khan as well. I think she is, she's shown that intent. We saw it in the ODI World Cup last year as well. So in some sense, separating them, ensuring that there's a bit of intent up top, and while at the same time you've got the likes of Shorna, Rabia, and to some extent Ritu Moni to follow. Do like it. Have to see if the Bangla think tank think similarly, because it's not going to be easy to make a change like that directly at the World Cup. But right now, it's not like the top order is faring any better, so might as well give that some shout. If you go further down, of course, post number 7, when you look at the bowling attack, Jeet, that has to be the strongest suit for them.
It is, and I think it's been very, very evident in the Tri Series as well that the new ball wickets matter a lot for them. They need a Marufa Akhtar to strike, they need a Naeeda Akhtar to strike, and that is when the likes of say Fahima Khatun or Rabia Khan come into the picture. If they don't get off to a good start, if they are not able to take a couple of quick wickets, and even these sort of spinners are struggling to kind of bring the game back for Bangladesh. So otherwise, I still feel it's a pretty good bowling attack. I'm just glad they've added Faria Trishna again, somebody that I've liked for a long time. I remember her taking a 4 for against Australia as well back home, troubling the likes of Beth Mooney and some of the best batters that Australia had. So it's good to see her back. Marufa Akhtar has been, I don't know how, but she's been a little bit expensive this time around in the Tri Series, but she's a spearhead. You can't take anything away from her. She's a spearhead of this particular pace attack. And Naeeda Akhtar, who often starts along with Marufa with the ball, she has been struggling as well, as far as taking wickets is concerned and even containing runs is concerned. So they've already made that change over here, and they've gone ahead with Sanjeeda Akhtar to play that left arm spinner role alongside Marufa, and she has been doing a phenomenal job. Come at the tournament, I don't know whom they are going to go opt for, because I think there would still be a temptation to add the experience of Naeeda Akhtar over Sanjeeda. But it's still a pretty good attack. I'm quite happy about the variety that they've got, and I think all the bowlers I would say are not too bad when it comes to discipline as well. They have the wicket taking ability. At times they can be expensive, but they are pretty good. If you need 10 wickets, and I think they've got the bowling lineup to take those 10 wickets.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. The names you mentioned, Faria Trishna has been a name that I've been looking forward to simply because of my own bias for left arm pacers. So it'll be interesting if they actually give her more game time. We haven't seen that. She's been a part of the squads multiple times. If I'm not wrong, she was a part of the 2025 World Cup squad as well. Played the warm-up games. So I don't know if she played in any of the actual games. But it'll be interesting if she features. And along with that, of course, the three spinners that they have, Fahima Khatun, Rabia Khan, all of them are very good, along with Shorna Akhtar. I really think they've shown enough. We've seen it last year as well. The Bangladeshi bowling attack, like time and time again. We remember the England game in the last ODI World Cup too. I know it's a different format, but it was the bowling attack that actually brought their side into the equation. So fingers crossed we will get to see some of that, because that's where the high variance nature of the shortest format helps. And fingers crossed we will get to see some of that. It'll be great to see Bangladesh upset one of the top three sides. Now let's talk about the 11, Jeet, because we've spoken a lot of these names. Once again, I feel this is yet another 11 that's got most of his names sorted, not in a way that we know who's going to play. It's only because of the fact that they have been playing these names, and it's not that we want these players to be played, but irrespective, fair to say a lot of these names would pick themselves any which ways.
They would, yeah. I think it's fairly predictable as far as some of the players are concerned. Number 3 spot is the only spot that's been in question in my POV. Dilara Akhtar's 50 today is probably going to make a lot of difference as well. And even if she hadn't scored that 50, she would have started anyway because of the decent boundary hitting ability that she has got. So yeah, Dilara is going to open along with Juwaria Firdaus. Number 3, I believe Taj Nihar might probably get a nod ahead of Sharmin Akhtar. Number 4, they'll go ahead with Nigah Sultana. Number 5, I believe, is where Sobna Mustari is probably going to play. Number 6 has got to be Shorna Akhtar. Number 7 has to be Ritu Moni, followed by Rabia Khan, Marufa Akhtar. Naeeda Akhtar is probably going to get a nod ahead of Sanjeeda Akhtar. And number 11, I believe they might opt for the left-arm variety of Faria Trishna.
That's actually who I had in my first 11 as well. Only change, I still think Sharmin Akhtar Shukta will be starting for them ahead of Taj Nihar. Simply because of the fact that she's been the one who's been given a lot more game time, apart from the Tri Series itself. So they have been playing her a lot. So I would be very surprised if she doesn't feature. So that's probably the only change. I do agree with you. Faria Trishna might not be a very popular choice in terms of her being a part of the starting 11, but I think based on the conditions and everything, she should get a game or two, and especially the first one. But when you look at the schedule as well, of course, they will be playing in Birmingham, which is where they take on Netherlands first. Then they move to Leeds, where they take on Australia. Then they move further south to Southampton, where they take on Pakistan. And then they move way up north to Lancashire, where they take on India in Manchester. And finally, they end the group stage at the iconic Lords, where they take on South Africa. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting for sure. But yeah, last but not the least, Jeet, where do you think Bangladesh will end up finishing the group stage?
A group stage exit. I think this has to be one of the easier ones here. Look, I'm not wishing anything bad for them, but there are holes and they still haven't fixed them, since the last edition of the World Cup. They had the same issues last time around as well, the same issues this time around as well. So not a major change has come as far as that batting bit is concerned. Bowling is great, but they have to do the carry job again, which is not fair on them in conditions like these, where you have these flat pitches where the batters have to put their hand up. It's Bangladesh. I think that's where again they'll probably struggle.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, even I can't be optimistic enough to say I hope, for a semi-final finish, but it looks very unlikely. We would be more than happy to see results go in their favor and them making it to the semi-finals. So that's that from Bangladesh. And of course, like we said, their first matches versus Netherlands, and that's on the 14th of June, which is a Sunday. So not a bad day to start for them. Now it's time to move on to, of course, I don't know if I can call them crowd favorites, but at least the team that most of our viewers would want to listen to or want to know more about. It is none other than Team India, defending champions when it comes to the ODI side of things, but not so much when it comes to the T20 side of things. Unfortunately, crashed out in the group stage in 2024. And unpopular opinion right up top, I don't see why they won't repeat something like that this time around too. But anyways, now that we've started on a very inauspicious note, Jeet, the Indian side, the women in blue, what are your thoughts?
Thoughts are fairly similar as far as the chances are concerned this time around. There are a few holes here and there that I'm not too convinced about. That bowling attack is not something that's been convincing me a lot. The form of Dipti Sharma also being concerned. We are seeing the kind of results that took place against England in game number 2 and game number 3. Game number 2 is something that they should have won. They squandered it. Game number 3 was just out and out horrible for them as far as the difference of 180 runs was concerned. So I see that sort of a scenario again repeating because, look, I mean, like I said, this group is a tough one. At least as far as the teams or the number of stronger teams are concerned, like they are really strong. We're looking at South Africa, we're looking at Australia. Going past them is going to be a big challenge. So I think that's where I feel, I mean, on a given day, if something goes wrong, if Dipti Sharma again continues to struggle at picking wickets, then I don't really see how this is going to pan out well for India.
It's been a very bizarre squad, to be honest. And, one of my thoughts has been the fact that India has somehow managed to look light on both batting and bowling. They've somehow managed to do it. I don't know how. They have Deepti batting at number 7 and Deepti being a part of their first 5 bowlers. And that alone is sort of single-handedly responsible for me to think that, okay, there's not enough batting, there's not enough bowling. So how are they ever going to sort of look threatening enough? Even if one bowler is doing well, it has to always be a collective effort. It can't just be every time one single bowler doing well for them and taking them across the line. Does not seem to be the case right now. Good to see Kranti Gaud in much better form. She looked woefully out of it in the WPL. She seemed much better. Shriyanka Patil, welcome change. But Jeet, again, in some sense, the elephant in the room, Yastaka Bhatia at number 3, straight up England series and now the World Cup. Happy with that change?
Yeah, I don't really mind that. I know she had a pretty terrible game number 2 and she was struggling. Even in game number 1, she was off to a fast start. After that, she just completely, put the anchor down. But right now, I feel the options are less. I know people will say Jamima Rodriguez at number 3, which is a fair shout as well. But then who can be the other batter that you can play in Jemima's spot at number 4 or whatever 5, whatever India is thinking. So I think that's where there is a bit of an issue. There are value for shots in England. We know that there is not a lot of stuff that's happening for the spinners or the pacers, and I think she can bag them. We saw how she took on Sophie Eccleston. We saw how she took on Lauren Bell as well. So I don't really mind that. I know at times I can understand what the drawbacks could be of Yastika over here as well. That running between the wickets has been a bit sketchy as she is coming off an injury layoff and surgery and everything. So she's not been 100% confident by the looks of it. So that could be an issue. But yeah, I do expect her to come good and do well.
I mean, no offense, this is why I'll have to channelize my inner Virat Kohli and say, what about Anushka Sharma? Like, I really think she should have gotten a longer rope, first at number 3 and then eventually in the World Cup as well. Yastaka Bhatia, my biggest concern with her right now is that her numbers in power play and post power play paint a very clear picture. She's just not been able to score any boundary whatsoever. And like Jeet said, it's not like she's a great rotator of strikes. She takes those singles or converts those ones into twos. She does neither of that. So that just means that she's sort of just there. She's just stuck there. It reminds me of how Harleen and Pratika time and time again kept getting stuck in the ODI World Cup. And I don't know why I think the Indian team, I mean, I wanted to say, I don't know why the Indian team would do something like this. I know why they've done this. They thought they were being really cute and really smart when they thought Yastaka Bhatia will be the solution to their number 3 problem and their backup keeper problem. So let's sort of, hit 2 birds with 1 stone and end this. And we'll instead go ahead for a completely different option altogether to give us more bowling depth. I just feel they've been oversmart here. I really think they should have had Anushka Sharma. First of all, Yasaka Bhatia is coming from an injury. We don't know where she at. The England series was going to be a first turn test. If it hadn't turned out well for her, then what was your option? Like Jeet said, you could maybe push Jemmy up the order at number 3, but who's going to bat at number 5? You'd really literally lock yourself out of any options because you went ahead with Bharti Fulmali, who I don't see getting any games until and unless Richa Ghosh is injured herself. That's what I feel. Very bizarre selection that, and even Radha Yadav for that matter, you could have picked Anushka Sharma. I really think she looked decently in the first couple of games in South Africa, but then she wasn't given enough of a rope. She didn't play those 5 games entirely at number 3, so it's hard to say what would have happened. But I am a bit unhappy, if that makes sense, with Yasika at number 3. I don't think that's the solution for their problems.
But then whom would you have as your backup wicketkeeper? Because there are no other options right now. Because if you pick Anushka, then I think, look, the problem right now for India is that there are too many batters who can bat in the top 3. So you needed somebody who can bat in the middle order or lower middle order. And that's why I think they went for Bharti Fulmali, because right now, other than Richa Ghosh, there is nobody who can bat aggressively at the death. Fulmali is untested, of course, at this particular level, but I can see that rationale. Otherwise, there are too many top 3 batters, and the issue of the backup wicketkeeper, like whom would you go for then?
But my question is, it's a 5-game tournament to begin with. I agree with you. Ideally, you need to have a backup keeper. I don't mind Yastika being picked solely as a backup keeper. Them thinking they can also solve the number 3 problem just by picking Yastika Bhatia and then going for Radha Yadav and Bharti Fulmali, who I don't like. My question is, okay, if you think Bharti Fulmali is needed because of intent, very fair point. Then when is Radha Yadav ever going to play? Sri Chani won't be dropped. We know that. Deepti Sharma, Radha Yadav, I don't think are like-for-like replacements any which ways. So in what context were they thinking would Radha Yadav then come into the 11? Because, yeah, then once again, that's my question. Why Radha, Bharti, Yasika, all 3 of them? Because I don't see all 3 of them being necessary or pertinent to the squad given their problems, because they've not plugged their holes even now.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I was able to pick up from Harmanpreet's post-match interview after game number 3 was that Radha and Bharti are not going to be starting. So she clearly mentioned that they want to see how these players go in the warm-up games before the T20 World Cup as well. So I think it's pretty clear that they are not a part of the plans for the starting 11. But yeah, Radha Yadav, I can understand. It's a bit of a puzzling choice there. But yeah, I'm not too sure about what were the other options. It's the batting where I feel they still went for experience side. That's probably the only thing how I can look at. Anushka Sharma, in the little run she got, she was not able to have a major impact. I know personally I wouldn't have minded her at number 3 either, but yeah, I think that backup wicketkeeper, I know it's a 5-team tournament, but if Richa Ghosh does end up getting injured, then you pretty much have no option. So if you pick Yastika as a pure wicketkeeper but don't play her, then would you be happy to go for Anushka Sharma or Bharti Fulmali then? Or you're saying Anushka Sharma or somebody like Radha Yadav?
Exactly. You had Radha Yadav. And the reason I'm saying that is, yes, if the openers do well, and which is what the Indian think tank would want, Yastika Bhatia post power play, the numbers are there for everyone to speak. She strikes at less than 100 post power play. That's not helping. Even in the first game, people were talking or raving about her 50. Great. I mean, I was very happy to see her score that 50, on comeback. But she was at 40 of 17 at the end of the power play. And she scored only 14 of her next 23 balls post it. Once again, she just got stuck. And that is going to happen because that happened in each of these 3 games. In fact, in the third T20I where India made 180 and she scored 32 of 18, I mean, you have to admit she was run out in the 7th over, 2 balls after the power play. And that timing really helped. But you can't rely on her being run out or her being dismissed exactly in the 7th or the 8th over. So that is my biggest concern. Like with Yastika, like your number 3 can't be someone who gets stuck in post power play. Then that role itself becomes redundant. You're not playing 3 openers.
Yeah, so it's an issue that India hasn't resolved, because in the past we had similar sort of players who had a similar sort of strength and weakness. Over here with Yastika, the same thing is happening. And the injury, just the fact that she's coming off an injury, I think perhaps is something that's not helping her either. But yeah, let's see how. I mean, there are too many reasons. There are too many holes right now that I see in Indian squad or the playing 11 that they might opt for. And looking at that, yeah, I'm not too confident about the chances this time around.
We've spoken a lot of holes and everything, but one name that's pleasantly surprised us, and not pleasantly to be honest, has genuinely impressed us. Nandini Sharma did not do too badly for India, and her being picked for the World Cup straight up as an uncapped player. Were you firstly surprised with that call, and secondly surprised with how she's performed so far?
No, I could see where that was coming from, right? Because India has new ball pacers, India has pacers who can do a decent job in the middle overs, but somebody like Nandini offers a lot of value at the death as well, and we are seeing the kind of variation she's bowling. I mean, back of the hand, how many Indian pacers have you seen bowl these sort of variations, or have the wicket keeper up to the stumps and bowl those bouncers? We don't see so many of our Indian pacers do that. So she was adding that variety to the Indian pace attack. So it was a fair call from that perspective. It's just that she's got a very short time to adjust to the international level, the quality of international level, and the pressure of the tournament, playing in different conditions as well. But she has done a phenomenal job so far. I know maybe the numbers may not suggest that, but I could understand the logic behind that particular selection. But again, come at the playing 11 or the first game over here, I'm not too confident on whether she starts over Renuka Singh or not.
Getting with the playing 11 then, how does it stack up for you?
It's going to be fairly similar. We'll have the same, I think, top 5, top 6, top 7. I think it's the same thing. I mean, Smriti Mandana Shafali to open, number 3, Yastika, number 4, hopefully Janima over Harmanpreet, number 5 will be Harmanpreet, Richa Ghosh at number 6. So I think this is where there has been a bit of drawback. Richa Ghosh is not getting a lot of time to bat. We know the kind of explosiveness that she possesses, and she's coming way too low down the order. But right now, there is no other player that we can kind of leave out. Unless if you leave out Yestika, then maybe there is a difference that it can make. But then again, okay, I think that could be an option, right? You leave out Yestika Bhatia, Jemima goes to number 3, Harmanpreet is number 4, Richa goes to number 5, and then you can slot in Bharti Fulmali, right? I mean, that's an option that India can explore.
Exactly.
But right now, I'm just going for the safer route that I feel even India will opt for. Dipti at number 7. Number 8 will be, I feel Arundhati is going to get the nod. She'll continue playing a part in this side. Sri Charni at number 9, Kranti God, and Renuka Singh, I think, is probably going to make the cut ahead of Nandini Sharma this time around, I feel. So I think there will be a tweak in role for Arundhati because she was taking the new ball. When you have the pastry of Arundhati, Kranti, and Nandini, you of course want Nandini to be your third pacer or your first change pacer. So Arundhati was taking the new ball. When Renuka comes into the playing 11, it's going to be Renuka and Kranti will be taking the new ball with Arundhati acting as a third pacer. So I think that's a change that I do see coming. We'll get a lot more clarity when these warm-up games take place, which are, again, 2 tough opponents. We've got Australia, we've got England for the warm-up. So we'll get a lot more clarity on how India are thinking and how Renuka performs as well. So otherwise, I feel this is the kind of a lineup that they're going to prefer. Now, again, I'll just go back to the spin attack as well here. It's a bit of an issue with Dipti Sharma. The fact that she is not able to have a major impact with the ball is perhaps hindering India's combination a lot more right now. India's first 2 games are against I think Pakistan and Netherlands. So in these 2 games, if they go for a combination of 3 pacers and 2 spinners, then I think it's just fine. You don't need to worry about it. 3 pacers against Pakistan, Netherlands is completely fine. But the remaining 3 games against South Africa, Bangladesh, and Australia, that's where they can actually add a Shriyanka Patil as well over one of the 3 pacers. I think that combination can work out really well. But it's the balance of that combination. I don't know how India are going to go about it, but it's a combination that's not really working out because Dipti is not really able to give them those wickets that they want.
I know you sort of spoke about the 11 from an opposition POV that, you can just have 3 pacers and kind of bounce Pakistan and Netherlands out because they've not faced a lot of quality pacers at this level. And what also sort of works in their favor is the fact that the first 2 games are in Birmingham and Leeds, not necessarily spin friendly. So you can always go for it. Yeah, exactly. But the next 3 games are in Manchester and Lords. So once again, that also helps spinners. So it kind of makes their sort of selection a lot more easier. I'm with you. In all fairness, if this was solely based on cricketing merit and recent form, Dipti Sharma would not be making the cut because she's not been very good. I know she had, an individual performance somewhere here or there versus South Africa, the 4 T20, of course, the one that they won. But that's it. That's just one match or one match-winning performance in 12 or 13 T20Is that she's played this year. Not 13, sorry, how many? 4 plus 3 plus 3, 10 T20Is that she's played this year. And it doesn't help. I still remember at the end of the South Africa T20Is, she had the second worst bowling strike rate for any bowler who'd bowled a minimum of 10 overs in 2026. The worst being Darcy Brown. So that's how woefully out of form she'd been. And that's how much it had hampered India's own chances because India relies on Deepti picking up wickets. And when that's not happening, that's only going to affect them big time. And it doesn't help them that they have a Shriyanka Patil waiting in the wings. It's not like they don't have options to replace Deepti. They have a very good option, someone who's already shown her skill in South Africa and even in England for that matter. So it's now all about whether they want to make that change, whether they want to inflict that change and sort of swallow that bitter pill or not. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I also think that is an interesting choice about them considering Jemmy at 3, Richa at 5, Bharti at 6. That's something they could just consider if they especially versus one of Pakistan or Netherlands, just to see if that is even something worth considering or not. But I know nothing like that's going to happen. We're just being extremely hopeful. I guess that's that from India. But Jeet, where do you see them finish?
I'll give them a group stage exit this time around as well. Yeah, I mean, look, if they get through to the semis, and I feel they'll potentially be facing England in those semi-finals. And I've already predicted a semi-final exit for England. So, which means if India makes it through to the semis, then India will go through to the finals as well. So I think that clash against South Africa is going to be really massive. The winner of that game may potentially decide who qualifies alongside Australia.
I also feel it'll be a group stage finish for them. They can have Smriti or Harman come up with, a match-winning performance by themselves, or even a Jemmy or a Richa for that matter. So I guess, that's where India is at. That's where we are at when it comes to Team India and our predictions with them. Next up, of course, is the Dutch, the Netherlands, their first ever appearance in a T20 World Cup. Not to forget, of course, they made quite a few ODI World Cup appearances way back in the 80s, early 90s. So it's good to see sort of, them making a comeback into World Cups and, of course, their first ever time at the T20 World Cup. Big stage, excited for them for sure.
Oh, definitely excited. I mean, some of the players that are featuring over here are the players that I've looked forward to for a long time. And some of them, I even tracked them in the domestics as well, back in the county cricket that they play in England. Otherwise, a fantastic squad. They've got a good bowling attack as well. I'm particularly excited about their pace attack because I feel they are amongst one of the tallest pace attacks that I've seen because of Iris Willing and Van den Raad. Otherwise, it's pretty good. We have seen how they have performed in Tri-Series as well, and it's been fairly decent. We've seen that clear shift that has come, as soon as Turk Alice has made an entry in the playing 11 after her duties with Yorkshire. So a pretty exciting lineup. Good to have Heather Seegers back as well in the mix. She's come out of retirement and we've seen the immediate impact that she has had with the bat and with the ball. So a squad that I'm definitely looking forward to, and a squad that I'll be probably observing and following a lot more keenly than some of the others.
In all fairness, I haven't tracked a lot of them outside the qualifier and the recently concluded Tri-Series, but it's been great fun seeing them. And I agree with Jeet, their pacers definitely have a bit of a differential to them in terms of how they operate, and that is going to sort of work in their favor. What I also found interesting was their two wrist spinners, Silver Seegers and Caroline de Lange. You usually tend to see conventional wrist spinners in most of these associate nations, but these two are, those typical modern day T20 spinners, quick arm action, a lot more flatter, a lot more sort of quicker through the air. They don't really rely on too much turn. In fact, the unorthodox nature of Silver Seegers, it was kind of weird because it's almost half wrong-footed in the way she comes in and hops in, rolls her arm over. But again, that's also interesting, but goes without saying both of them have been very inconsistent. So we can't just romanticize the fact that they are unorthodox. They will still take a bit more time. I did feel they ended up erring on the shorter side, especially in the qualifier, and even in quite a few games here at the Tri-Series as well. They would end up erring on the shorter side way too much. But Silver Seegers, credit to her, still did not do too badly at all in terms of being economical and also at times taking wickets. So happy to see that. With the batting, Heather Seegers genuinely impressed me a lot, and I was pleasantly surprised by that, like Jeet said. And there's Babit Delida, of course, the captain. She's also a keeper. So interesting in terms of how the batting functions, Jeet. Let's start off with that. There's Sir Carlos, like you mentioned. There's Heather Seegers, who opens, of course, with, I hope I don't get the pronunciation right, but the pronunciation of her second name is Malkinberg. Is that fair?
I think it's Malkinboer. Phoebe Malkinboer. I think that's the only spot that's been under question. I think the Dutch have given her a pretty long run, and she's somebody who plays domestics in South Africa, and she represents the same time that even Mignon du Preez is still playing for. And over there also the trend has been fairly similar for Northwest Women, which is that she does a decent job in the one-day format of the game. She has done fairly good in terms of her racking up the runs and having a good average. The strike rate has been around 50 to 55 in that competition as well. So she's somebody you can hang in there. But the T20 format demands you to score quickly, and I think that is where she kind of struggles. We saw that in the qualifiers as well. Over here as well at the Tri-Series, the same thing is happening where she's struggling to score runs and getting dismissed very early. So Phoebe's spot is the only one that I'm a little bit concerned about, but I think they'll probably still back her, I feel, right now. because Heather Siggers is doing a terrific job. She's coming off, and we can see what happens when she comes off in the power play. She's just blasting out the opponents with her high intent game and has been phenomenal over there. Babette Daleda has been doing a great job as well at number three. Uh, I mean, some of these batters, it's a situational decision I feel that the coach generally takes over here in terms of who bats at three, who bats number four, and everything. But it's probably safe to say that Babette is going to bat at number three. Stair Callis has been a massive, massive player, massive addition. And at least I personally feel that I've never seen a batter in women's cricket who's as good as Stair Callis when it comes to the game on the offside. Just too good. That offside game is absolutely sensational versus spin versus pace. Outstanding shots. It's very hard to dismiss her whenever you're bowling a line that's at the off stump or outside the off stump. She's always staying leg side of the ball to access the offside, and she nails it 9 out of 10 times. So she's a great addition. We've already seen the impact she has had. In fact, I remember that the Dutch have been in the UK since April. They played a few warm-up games against some of the county sides, the second 11s and first 11s warm-up games. Over there as well, I think Stair managed to crack a century over there, unbeaten 100 over there as well. So a vital cog in this particular lineup. Number 5, I think she's the one player, Robin Raika, unbelievable player. She always escapes the limelight. I feel so bad for her because every time I've watched the Dutch without Stair Callis, I mean, there are times when they get into a lot of trouble. They lose a few early wickets. It's always Robin who puts her hand up and she performs brilliantly. She literally digs them out of trouble time and again. So she's a player who's probably not going to bat so quickly, but she'll always put a price on the wicket. She'll rotate the strike, and whenever there's a bad ball, she'll make sure that she makes the most out of it and scores boundaries of them. So she has been a vital cog as well. It's number 6 spot that I'm a little bit concerned about because I think that's the one spot where I feel there are two players fighting for it. One has been Sania Khurana, and the other has been Rosalie Lawrence, who has just made her debut recently. Sania, I feel they are going to go ahead with her purely because she had a decent run in the qualifier. She scored, I think, a 43 now or something against Bangladesh in that particular tournament as well. And she's somebody who plays county cricket for Worcester as well. So I think that experience could come in handy as well for her. And she can be a brilliant addition in number 6. And after that, I think there are more players who can bat as well. Iris Wheeling, I remember her probably, I think she was batting the top order at one stage, if I'm not wrong. And she was doing a decent job over there as well. So I think this particular team bats really deep. There is a Frederick Overdyke as well, who is somebody who can chip in really well with the bat as well. So as far as that depth is concerned, I think it's a terrific lineup that they've got.
I think I saw Zwilling open recently in the qualifier against one of the I don't know if it was the qualifier, was it some other game? But yeah, she has opened. She has opened with Netherlands. That's true. And Overdyke is an interesting name because when I first saw her, she's a medium pacer, but she also bowls off spin. She sort of switches to off spin, and that I was taken by surprise because it's not something we see often in T20 cricket. Was it an interesting shout? Because apart from Heather Seegers, I don't think they have any other off spinner as such in the first 11, right, Jeet?
Yeah, so she started off as a pacer. So if you remember, she took a 7th for, and that's the first time I took a lot of interest in Frederick because I was like 7th for. I mean, she's got to be good. And I saw the scorecard, and most of the dismissals or most of the wickets were bowled or LBW. So I tracked her since then. I was very impressed. I was following her so keenly because I identified her as a pacer who bowled stump to stump, you miss, I hit. A simple strategy for her. And now it's been a while, but she has been rolling her arm over as an off spinner. And so it's an interesting change that she has made. And I feel it's fine. I mean, the shift, I don't really mind that because of the number of pacers that they've already got in the side. So it's perhaps a good variety to have. They already have 2 wrist spinners. So if somebody is bowling an off spinner, then I don't really mind that. But otherwise, I still feel that this team could be a team that will rely more on the spinners than the pacers because we are seeing the kind of tactics on display, right? We are seeing Silver Seegers bowling in the power play. And I think the Netherlands is the only team to have a wrist spinner who's going to be bowling in the power play as compared to any other teams. And these tactics are like fairly similar.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say about the pace attack as well there is that I agree that they clearly, are a lot more taller on average compared to any other pacers. But one thing you'll also have to say is they're not very fast. Like when we spoke about, say, Scotland, they were, these sort of, very quick pacers. Even to some extent, when you look at Ireland, if not very quick, they've got Feva Canning, Ola Prendergast, Arlene Kenny. They're not slow, but I felt that, the Dutch pacers weren't necessarily clocking an excess of even 100 for that matter. But of course, the speed gun wasn't available in the qualifier or here. This was just more based on what I saw. They didn't necessarily seem very quick. So that could be a cause for concern because at the highest level, irrespective of how accurate you are, if you're going to be very slow, I think, batters will just sort of rely on their reflexes to take care of you.
Yeah, I think that tall pacer, I think Iris Willing, we know that she's going to start. Van der Aar is somebody that I watched in the UK playing against some of the academy teams, and that is when I first saw her. And I was the one thing that really struck me was her height. But like you mentioned, the pace is not quite there for any of the paces, and I think that's the one reason why I used to like Frederick. She had a decent pace. So right now, I don't think there is any pacer who clocks in excess of 105. Van der Warning has been struggling as well. I think one of the games she was struggling for that discipline. She was bowling her outswing from over the wicket and bowling too many wides. So I really liked one of the adjustments she made in that game. She went around the wicket and she was nailing it since then. So again, like she's fairly new to the setup, but yeah, I think that pace that does lack that extra pace, but it's okay. At least height is something that they can use to their advantage. And I'm not too fussed about pacers not being rapid in women's cricket. Even being at 100, 105 works if you're bowling the right lengths and right lines.
Now, speaking about the 11, Jeet, how does that turn out for them?
Yeah, I think Heather Siggers is going to open along with Phoebe. Number 3, they'll go for Babette de Leda. Number 4 will be Stair Callis. Number 5 will be Robin Raika. Number 6, I've gone for Sania Khurana over Rosalie Lawrence. Number 7, I expect Iris Willing to play. Now, number 8 spot is the one that I'm not so sure about because it really depends upon whether they want to add that extra pacer or extra spinner. Because right now, I still feel that pace attack is a little bit light on resources. So Isabel van der Warning might get the nod ahead of Frederick at number 8. Another pacer in Hannah Landhier at number 9. Caroline De Langa and Silver Seegers to cap off their 10 and 11 is what I feel. So 3 pacers in this side. And then, yeah, they're flocked with spinners.
I agree with you that they are light on pacers if they don't play someone like Isabel. I believe that spin in a way is their strength, so might as well just lean in on it and play to their strengths. So probably I would personally pick Ovidak, and also because between the two, she's a lot more experienced. It is an ICC event. You would always want to rely on something like that. So once again, yeah, exactly. Plus batting value, that goes without saying. And even then, it's not like there's a very clear difference in terms of, who will add more value. But fair enough. Let's see how they go. But speaking of their schedule as well, they first take on Bangladesh in Birmingham. Then they move to Leeds where they take on India. Then they move to Southampton where they take on Australia. Before moving to Bristol for their game versus South Africa. And finally capping it off in Bristol again versus Pakistan. I just hope, if nothing else, if they're able to even rack up one win against any of these sides, it'll be job well done for them. But speaking of finish, Jeet, where do you see them finish?
Yeah, again, a group stage exit for them as well. But I do hope that they do at least finish with 1 win or 2 wins because there are certain opponents that they can defeat and they have defeated recently as well. Plus, I mean, there is a lot of quality as far as some of their batting is concerned. So I won't really put it past them as far as, causing an upset or 2 is concerned over here in this particular tournament.
In all likelihood, it would be a group stage exit, but this is their first ever World Cup appearance. So it's all about just soaking in, understanding what it takes to play at this level. And like I said last time as well, there is an Emerging Nations tournament coming up next year. So games like these will only help them get better and do well at tournaments like those. Yeah, fingers crossed, we'll see a lot more of them, a lot more of Sir Carlos, a lot more of the Seeger sisters and everyone else from the Netherlands. So that's that from that side. Of course, now time to move on to our neighbors and friends to the west. It's Pakistan, of course. They've also been a part of the tri-series, if I'm not wrong. The decider is going on as we speak between Pakistan and Ireland. But yeah, how do you see their World Cup faring?
Yeah, they haven't had a good run in this tri-series as well. Again, similar batting issues for them as well. Just like some of the other subcontinent teams, some batting position or some of the other batters and everything is not quite working out for them for a long time now. But at least the positive year for a team like Pakistan is that there has been a change in intent. Look, I'm accounting for the fact that they have played Zimbabwe as well, and that helped them improve the numbers. But in the 18 years that they've been involved in T20I cricket, there have been only 3 calendar years where their run rate in a given year has been over 6. And 2 of them has been the last 2 years, 2025 and the current ongoing year, 2026. In 2026, their run rate is 8.16 so far. And in 2025, their run rate was 7.54. So even if it is Zimbabwe, it's fine. But they faced South Africa as well. They faced West Indies as well. So it's still a improvement, right? It's not that they've not faced these teams before. So there has been a change in their intent with the bat. Some of the batters are stepping up. Maybe there is a clear message that has gone through from the management to be a lot more aggressive rather than just trying to play out and just trying to hang in for a place. So that change has come, but the results are still concerning, heading into this T20 World Cup. But yeah, I have already mentioned why the form doesn't really matter heading into the T20 World Cup. But still, I mean, there are certain gaps, certain players, and certain positions that I'm really not convinced with. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
I mean, another thing I'll add to that whole batting bit is the fact that they also made some very positive changes. Letting go of someone like a Sidra, I mean, who's been their bank, who's been scoring runs for them, was the highest run scorer in the ODI World Cup as well. You would imagine they'll just go ahead with such legacy picks simply because, yeah, she scores runs, right? Sure, the strike rate isn't there, but who cares? But these were very progressive calls that were made, picking the likes of Iman Fatima, Aisha Zafar, and all of them ahead of Sidra. I mean, so I thought that was, that at least signaled the right message that, we are looking for batters who can actually score more boundaries for us and show us that intent. So at least that's there. The heart's in the right place. Now it's all about executing. Might not be this very edition, but hopefully in the future World Cups, we will see that. When it comes to the batting, Jeet, you spoke about, the intent or the lack of it that's hurt them. But all in all, some of the names that have been picked, not too bad a batting lineup, that.
No, definitely not. I think Iman Fatima is a very good name that you took. A player that I was really impressed with at the under 19 level itself. Gul Firoza has been doing a decent job. Muniba Ali, she has been one of the better players in this side. I know at times she does struggle to get going, but she has still been one of the decent batters, and the fact that she is a left-handed batter up top also helps them. Fatima Sana has been absolutely outstanding for a long time with the bat. So again, a lot rides upon her as well. Yeah, but I just feel that somehow the scheduling is going to be a little tough on them because they straight away start off with two massive clashes. The first one being against India and the next one being against South Africa. So if they are not off to a good start, then I think things are only going to go south for them because after that they face Bangladesh, Australia, and Netherlands or whatever. But the start is going to be really tough for them. And if they are able to even pull off one win in those two games, then I think it's going to make a huge difference. But there are positives. The mindset has changed with them. The scoring rate has changed. The only, I think, player that I feel is a little bit concerning is Alia Riaz. There was a time, right, for Pakistan when there was a lot of dependency upon Alia and Nida to be scoring the runs, and they were doing the bulk of scoring. And then they were followed by Fatima, who used to come in and then back it. Right now, the problem is Alia Riaz because the other batters are doing a decent job, but Alia is still struggling to kind of get going. I think recently only I spotted one scorecard where they were chasing a pretty tight equation where they had to score a lot of runs. And I noticed that Alia scored like 36 or 37 runs in 20 balls or whatever. And there were 8 fours. So 32 of those 37 or 38 runs came in boundaries. The rest of them were majorly dots. So that doesn't really work out. That doesn't help. You have to rotate strike. And when there is a Fatima Sana at the other end, you have to give it to her because she is capable of clearing the boundaries. So since 2025, right, these are 2 years I just mentioned, right, as far as the run rate being concerned and having gone up over 2025, 2026. So since 2025, if I look at all the batters and the strike rate, everybody is improved. There is Fatima Sana at 183, Aisha Zafar at 152, and there are 8 more batters, including Iram Javed and Natalia Parvez. And then there is Alia Riaz at 116. So everybody has improved their scoring rate, their intent, but Alia Riaz has still kind of stayed there at 116. So I think it's not really helping them, for having a batter at number 6 batting with such a low intent right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been spoken about time and time again that, despite, of course, she's again one of the most experienced campaigners and that surely adds value. But if you just solely look at it from a cricketing POV, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Right now in 2026, she has been striking a lot. We saw that in the tri-series, even in the series versus South Africa. Fatima Sana, on the other hand, she's been in the middle of a purple patch. And how? Because fantastic with the bat, just the way she's been scoring runs and importantly hitting boundaries for fun. Jeet, arguably one of the better pace bowling all-rounders going around in the world of women's cricket.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, just that bowling has kind of fallen off a little bit. She's conceding too many runs lately. Her economy has been well over 8 since the last 2 calendar years. So I think that bowling bit has been concerning, but right now Pakistan's bowling is not an issue. The batting always has been. That's where Fatima has done a phenomenal job. So a genuinely exciting player to kind of look forward to. I remember, times of Aisha Naseem being that player who used to take on the bowlers, hit those sixes, and now Fatima having taken over and doing a splendid job at that. So a player that I'm definitely looking forward to.
All eyes will be on Fatima Sana apart from, the other batters, because she's been the one who's sort of, in some sense, putting bums on seats. She's the name that everyone looks forward to when it comes to the Pakistani batting lineup. But speaking of the bowling, once again, like a lot of other South Asian sides, potentially the strongest suit, once again, in terms of how the bowlers have fared, or how dependable they've been, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, just as you mentioned, it's fairly similar to the other subcontinent teams who rely upon their spinners more than the pacers. We've had the two left-arm spinners who have, held their fort for a long time in Nashra Sandhu and Sadia Iqbal. They've been doing a pretty good job as well. Nashra has been lacking wickets since 2025, but she has had a good tri-series. At the same time, Sadia has not had a good tri-series, but they are still experienced enough. Good left-arm spinners who operate in different phases of the game, so a really handy combination to have. Other than that, I feel somebody like Aisha Zafar also rolling her arm over has kind of helped them add that, or at least have that extra option up the sleeve if they want to go to. Tuba Hassan adds a pretty good spin option as well. I think she's fairly underrated as well. Ramin Shamim is another option that they've got in the spin department as well. Somebody who can bat as well. I think they've tried her out at number 5. They may potentially continue playing her at number 5 as well. So the spin attack has been pretty good. Pace attack, it's been interesting. Fatima Sana has been expensive. A lot of reliance on Diana Begg to provide them with the new ball value, and she's going to have the conditions as well on offer to have that sort of an impact as well if she can. The good thing over here is that they've got left arm pacer as well if they want to go to Tasmia Rubab. So she's somebody I'm looking forward to as well. I don't expect her to start.
Yeah, Tasmia Rubab is a name that we also discussed off air, and I hope she gets a few more chances, because that left arm angle tends to play a much bigger role in women's cricket compared to men, simply because it's such a rare commodity. But I don't think she's played a lot of games. She's played just like 2 or 3 T20, as if I'm not wrong, for them. So would be surprised if she gets some game time. Sadia Iqbal goes without saying, a very good option, especially with the new ball. We've seen what she can do. So if she's on song, and I hope she is, because Pakistan would hope she is, she'll also be great. Nashra Sandhu has not been amongst the wickets, like Jeet said, but still an experienced campaigner, someone you can rely on to sort of hold one end up in the middle overs, especially. The spin attack isn't too bad. You can add, the spin of Aisha Zafar, Amin Shamim, like you said. Tuba Hassan, I want to see if they actually pick her or not, because apart from her leg spin, she adds value with the bat. She's a gun fielder too. So a proper T20 package that way. So it'll be exciting if she gets a consistent run. Will also add variety to the bowling attack, that goes without saying. But Jeet, now talking about the 11 itself, because we've spoken about these players. Once again, a lot of questions to ask. Or how's it for you now?
A couple of spots are questionable. I mean, I'm not too sure about what they're going to do. I think top 4 or 5 is top 4 specifically, I think, is fairly sorted. And Muniba, Gul Feroz has the openers. Number 3 is going to be Aisha Zafar. And then they found Saira Jabin as well, who has performed really well in the tri-series. A good couple of knocks against Zimbabwe as well. So she's got the scoring rate up, and she's helping out at number 4 in the middle order. So I think she's a good batter to have, and I think they'll stick with her. It's a number 5 spot that I'm a little bit confused about. I'm not too sure whom they are going to go for. But I feel that it could be Ramin Shamim, because there is that bowling value that she brings as well. They'll go out with Alia Riaz at number 6, Fatima Sana at number 7. And then I don't know why, but they'll probably again stick with Iman Fatima at number 8 or Iram Javed at number 8. 9, 10 and 11 will be capped off by Diana Begg, Nashra Sandhu and Sadia Iqbal. So this is pretty much what I expect. This is where I'm hoping that maybe Iman Fatima plays at number 5, because that is when they can probably look to add the spin of, say, Tuba Hassan or the left-arm pace option of Tasmia Rubab. But I think this is probably what they're going to stick with.
The only name I would still consider is Tuba Hassan at number 8. Like, even if they continue with Ramin Shamim at number 5. But again, fair enough based on what we've seen so far in the tri series. I don't know how many chances will Tuba get, but it will be interesting to see, of course, when it comes to their schedule. Their first game is versus India. That's also on Sunday, 14 June. That game's in Birmingham. They stay in Birmingham and take on South Africa 3 days later before moving to Southampton to take on Bangladesh, and then going to Leeds up north to face Australia, and finally capping off the group stage down south in Bristol to take on Netherlands. So that will be their schedule. Again, interesting in terms of the surfaces. Won't be easy just because of the oppositions. They will hope to at least get 2 wins. Bangladesh, Netherlands being the 2 oppositions that they would want to get ahead of course, even India for that matter. And where do you see them finish this time around?
It's a group stage exit for them as well, I believe, because it's like I mentioned, I think it's a very tough start for them. They've got 2 very strong opponents up front. Luckily, it's a venue that I feel Pakistan will be happy with. Edgbaston is a venue that should support the kind of a lineup that they've got. But yeah, the fact that it's India and South Africa straight away up front doesn't really help them. So I think it's going to be a challenge. And if they lose both these games, then yeah, it's just downhill from there, I feel.
All right, so that's that from Pakistan. And I agree with Jeet, again, goes without saying, because we know that there are 3 top-tier sides, and 2 in particular that we think are favorites. Pakistan will not find it any easy whatsoever. So let's see how it goes for them, of course. Last but not the least, a side that we've been wanting to talk about for a while now, it is the Saffers, the Proteas, the South Africans. Jeet, South Africa, Shabnam Ismail coming in, Dani Faniekar coming in, Marizan Ka back from injury. That's a side, man. That's a side.
I think this is the first ever edition of the Women's T20 World Cup where I'm genuinely excited for a team. Genuinely excited given the look of it. It's just absolutely insane. I just cannot believe how many things that, they've gotten correct this time around, because in the previous editions, I was not so confident about South Africa even making it through to the semis, because there were plenty of holes, there were plenty of gaps, yet they made it through. So if that squad can make it through, then this squad has to go all the way, or at least reach the finals again. Hopefully this time they can go all the way, given what has happened in the recent history. But man, it's a genuinely exciting squad. The kind of firepower that they've got in the batting with Neri Dirksen, Nadine de Klerk and Keda Renike, and then that bowling attack is absolutely insane. More specifically, the pace bowling attack here, but Shabnam Ismail coming back, Marzan Kaab being back, and partnering along with Abonga Khaka, I think that's easily at least my personal favorite pace trio to have in the women's cricket.
Yeah, this is arguably the best bowling attack, or the best pace attack in the tournament. But of course, the spin attack is not so strong, and that in some sense brings down the bowling attack, because you know who you can target over there. Starting with the batters there, Jeep, again, when you look at Sunil Lees, who's been in great form, there's Laura Wolfard, there's Neri Dirksen, like you mentioned, Marizan Kaab, there's Kayla Reneka. That batting lineup is going to threaten 180 almost every game.
Easily. And the thing is, these big hitters are spread out well as well. So I think they've tried plenty of things of late, at least in the last 12 months or so. They tried several combinations. In fact, there was a combination of Sunil Lees and Tasman Brits as well as their openers, and Laura Woolward shifting down to number 3. But it was never going to work, and I think they've identified that. Sunil Lees at least is technically much better, so she'll probably again be opening along with Laura Woolward. I think we have established that with the warm-up game as well against Australia that's been going on. So it's a pretty good batting lineup. Dane van Nicker coming back. I think they've done a good job at ensuring that they've got multiple big hitters on the side. There's Toy Tran as well. So well spread out, good ability. There are hitters in the top order, middle order, lower order. So well spread out. I do expect, 180 has to be breached most of the times.
Yeah, very exciting batting lineup. And again, now talking about the bowlers itself, you spoke about the pace, Troika, Jeet, but let's also spend some time on the spin attack now. They've got Chloe Tryon, they've got Nokuleku Malaba, but Kayla Reneka once again is probably, the option that we'll also be looking forward to with the ball as well. I've personally genuinely enjoyed watching her bowl to, not just her fire-hitting pyro techniques.
Yeah, I think we watched her in the Under-19 World Cup as well, and that's the one thing I was able to pick off, is somebody who can really chip into the ball and provide handy runs. Her batting has gotten a lot more better than what it was back then, obviously. But I think that spin attack. Look, that spin attack is the reason why I felt South Africa probably won't be making it through to knockouts in the previous editions, because you have an outstanding and a very underrated left-arm spinner in Nonkululeko Malaba. But as support spinners, I don't like Chloe Tryon, I don't like Sunil Lees. there is just so much inconsistency, with both of these spinners, and it doesn't surprise me that their numbers in England are quite bad as well in the T20 format of the game, both averaging in excess of 30 with a high economy. So that is what I was not convinced with. Kela Renica, of course, now adds that. I'm not too sure whether I can call her a frontline option as well, but at least he's a better option to go to other than Sunil Lees and Chloe Tran. Chloe Tran, I think we have been pretty clear as to what happens when she is introduced. I think there's a lot of onus being put upon her and a lot of role that she's been given with the ball. And we know how it starts. Each over starts with a long hop, and there are more long hops that follow in pretty much every over. So, when you've got somebody of the quality of Malaba, then yeah, I think Kela Renica as the second spinner is much better. Sunil is fairly decent, but again, when you have the off spin of Kela Renica, I'm probably not going to Sunil either. They had a Seshni Naidu in the past as well. That was a good wrist spin option, and she's a very talented wrist spinner as well. But she didn't have a great start to her international career, and I think that has kind of pegged her back.
But given that, Jeet, and given the fact that they play two of the strongest opponents in Australia and India in Manchester, do you think that could potentially sort of, maybe it was earlier 70-30 and now it probably goes down to, say, 60-40 or even lower?
Look, Australia won't spare these spinners, that's for sure, because they come hard. They really come hard at the spinners. And the one pattern that's been very, very prevalent for the last 5 or 6 years is that Australia goes after the lead spinner of the team. So over here, it's Malaba. So if they are attacking Malaba, God spare Chloe Chan and Sunil. But look, I think one of the things that I've observed with the Old Trafford is that it's not the typical Old Trafford anymore. You don't necessarily get spin-friendly surfaces. I know numbers kind of back spinners over here at the Old Trafford from the 100, if you look at that record. But even recently, in the Vitality Blast that's been going on, some of the surfaces have been batting friendly. So we don't know what sort of surface will be used come at these sort of games. So I think South Africa, hopefully they're smart enough to just bank upon their pacers over here against these sort of opponents and just stick to their frontline spin options rather than chipping in or just trying to sneak off an over of part-time spin. If they can do that, then they should be fine.
The first game is versus Australia. That's coming. That game's on the 13th of June. And then, of course, they take on Pakistan in Birmingham before coming back to Manchester to take on India, and then moving down south to Bristol to take on Netherlands before going to the Lodge to take on Bangladesh. Interesting schedule. Australia now is their first game and India is their third game. So there's not a lot of time to sort of, think about, or not a lot of time to just get acclimatized to the conditions and everything. But once again, it's a thoroughly professional unit who's got loads of experience in England. So nothing to be worried about there. But talking about the first 11 now, Jeet, once again, I think this is arguably the most settled 11. I don't think there's almost any name that you'd want to think and be like, you know what, I don't want this, I probably want that.
Yeah, I mean, that is true, but we don't really know whether they are looking at it the same way or not, because I at least personally feel that Tasman Brits is a name that's going to miss out this time around. But then are they willing to bat Aneri Dirksen number 3? That is something I don't know. So at least I personally have gone for Laura Fulvard and Sunil Lees as openers. I put Aneri Dirksen number 3. Number 4 will be Marazan Cap. Number 5, I'm guessing it's going to be Nadine de Klerk. Number 6 is going to be Sinalo Jafta. Number 7 is going to be Chloe Traun. Number 8 is going to be Kela Renke. And then there will be Shabnam Ismail, Nonkuleko Malaba, and Abonga Kaka to cap off their number 11.
Interesting. Again, I think the 11 names, I'm with you on it. Probably the order is the only thing I would think they change. This is just based on what I've seen from them. Even versus New Zealand, even versus India, we saw Sinalo Jafta being sent ahead time and time again. I don't know if it was more of a giving her some game time kind of thing, or if that's what they want to do at the World Cup as well. If that isn't the case, then yeah, Jeet's 11 in that order makes sense. That's personally what I would have done. But they've time and time again pushed Nadine de Klerk to number 7, even number 8 at times. So I don't know. Once again, it could be the case that they felt, you know what, Nadine's Nadine. We don't need to worry about her not getting enough game time. But let's ensure that the other batters have some runs under their belt. So apart from that, yeah, because I think just based on how they've sort of structure the 11 so far, I think Sinalo at 5, Chloe Trayon at 6, and Nadine de Klerk at 7 is probably what they'll do, because that's what they've been doing, versus New Zealand as well. But apart from that, of course, I'm with Jeet on every other name there. And yeah, talking about the finish now, though, Jeet, of course, they surely would want to be making the semi-finals this time with this squad.
No, I hope actually they go all the way, because I think the kind of squad that they have assembled this time around kind of deserves to lift the trophy. What I fear this time around with them is that they are going to go the Delhi Capitals way. They'll again qualify for the finals and probably come up with the silver spoon, with Australia probably taking it. But at least I just hope they make it through to the finals, and then fingers crossed that they can pull it off this time around.
Laura and Cup, I hope you're hearing this and take the monkey off your back. Get the monkey off your back, please. But yeah, I'm with Jeet that at least they will be making to the semi-finals, and in all likelihood, I expect them to sort of, come over England, assuming they finish second, England finish first in their group. I would expect South Africa to win over England if that is the semi-final. And yeah, fingers crossed they do win the final as well, because they bloody hell deserve a trophy. They've been really good. 2023 ICC T20 World Cup final, 2024 ICC T20 World Cup final, 2025 ICC ODI World Cup final. So that's 3 finals that they've made in the last 3 years. Yeah, a trophy is due, hopefully 4 times the charm for them. And yeah, I guess that's that from this preview. We've completely spoken about each of the 6 teams that were or that are in Group A. The tournament starts on the 12th of June, like we've said time and time again. This video, of course, is coming out on a Monday. I don't know why did I say that now, but like we mentioned in the previous video as well, Jeet and I will be getting together every week. We'll be talking about the game, reviewing trends, whatever we feel like talking, analysis. Why is Priti Mandana doing so well versus Ospin? Let's hope that happens so that we get to talk something new about her instead of the same old habits, and vice versa about a lot of other players too. Until then, it's a goodbye from both of us. Thank you so much for staying on till the end and watching this entire preview. If you have, please do us a favor. Once again, hit the like button. Make sure to hit the like button. Do follow Jeet Vachharajani on Twitter. Do follow Women's Cricket Central on Instagram, and follow at @ByCricketBy as well on Twitter. After all the following's done, that's a goodbye from both of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.